Hello, and welcome to the Chief Architect Remodeling demonstration. My name is Philip, and I'll be presenting for you today. We're going to start off our project in the Room Planner app, which is Chief Architect's mobile app for capturing as-built measurements to kickstart your remodeling project. We're then going to go through some settings and how you can document the remodel in Chief Architect, add our master bathroom addition, add a second story, add stairs, model the roof, remodel our framing, display a materials list, go through 3D rendering options, and creating layout sheets. So let's get started. Up on the screen we have two photos. The photo on the left is our room planner file after we import it and modify it to model the as-built existing structure, and the photo on the right is our pretty dramatic remodel that we're going to be doing on the plan. And then later we're going to be showing how you can overlay the two models that we're going to be creating so that you can show where the existing structure was and then show the parts that are going to be the addition. The Room Planner app is Chief Architect's mobile app that you can download onto your tablet and take out with you into the field and sync it with a Bluetooth laser to capture the dimensions of your doors, windows, and walls of the existing structure and then import it into our desktop software. This process helps you save time in your project and helps ensure the accuracy of your dimensions. Notice that in the photo of the Room Planner app model that I've already got room labels, which will carry over into the desktop software and help speed up our design process. Over at chiefarchitect.com, we have a large video playlist that goes through all aspects of both our desktop software and our mobile app. So if you're interested in learning more about the Room Planner app, make sure to check out the training video section of our website. So here I am in Chief Architect. Up at the top of the screen, you'll have your architectural tools that you'll use to create your design. There's going to be tools for walls, doors, windows, cabinets, and so forth, and these same tools are available through the drop-down menus at the top of the screen. Off to the right-hand side is the library browser, which will contain over 100,000 items and materials that you can use to help customize your design. I'm going to go ahead and close my library browser, but you can always bring up the library browser by pressing the book icon in your toolbar or by going to View and then Library Browser. Next, before we import our Room Planner file, I wanted to go over some default settings that I already have set up. When you import the Room Planner file, it'll go off of any default settings that you've already predefined. If we take a look at my default settings by pressing the wrench icon in the top toolbar and then go down to Walls, and then exterior wall, a menu comes up that will define how your exterior walls behave. Off to the right hand side you can see a 3D preview, and currently I'm in a vector view, but if you select the drop down you can change it to a standard view, see how it looks like in a glass house view or your floor plan view. I'm going to go ahead and leave that as our standard view, and in the middle of this box you can change the functions of how this wall will behave in the plan, and then off to the left you have different panels. So we're currently on the general panel, but you can switch over to the structure panel, which will have options for changing how this wall interacts with the rest of your structure, how the roof should build over this wall, how this wall should build as a foundation wall, wall types, if that needs a wall cap, wall covering, and so on and so forth. On this wall types panel, you'll notice that I'm using a wall type I have made called Siding 6 Ocean Existing. And if we click on Define, you can see all the different layers that make up this wall. You can see I'm using a deep ocean shake material that's 1/2 inch thick, and you can change this by double clicking on the material and then just picking a new material from our library. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, but you can see I then have a house wrap material, an OSB layer, and then down in our main layer where our framing would normally be, I have it specified to be an opening that is 5.5 inches thick. The reason I have this set at 5.5 inches is because the actual thickness for this wall cavity is going to be 5.5 inches where your 2x6 stud would be. And the reason I have our material set to be an opening is because when we build our framing, I don't want to see any framing in our existing walls. So we want to maintain the cavity size of this wall, but we don't want any framing members to be generated in these walls, so we have it set to be an opening. And then we have our drywall layer that's going to be 1/2 inch thick. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and cancel out of our exterior wall defaults. But I've taken a similar approach to our interior wall defaults with an interior wall existing wall type. So next, let's go ahead and import that room planner file by going to File, Import, Import Room Planner File, and then just log into your Chief Architect account credentials. Next, choose the room planner file that you would like to import, and then click on OK. And there you'll have imported that room planner file as you had left it off in the mobile app. So next, let's go ahead and take a 3D view. So I'm going to go to our camera options at the top of the screen, and I'm going to select the perspective floor overview. So here we are in our 3D floor overview, and if you use the mouse orbit camera button at the top of the screen, you can navigate around your view. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in and out, and click and hold with that scroll wheel to pan back and forth. You can work in both 2D and 3D views by grabbing your tab at the top and just dragging it side by side. You can also get to work in both 2D and 3D by going to View, and then, by going to Window, and then down to Tile vertically, or by pressing Shift F6 on your keyboard. So that's one good thing to know about Chief Architect, is that there's often multiple ways you can approach a task. So the Room Planner app got most of our as-built conditions modeled, but there's still a few more we need to add. If you look at the photo of our existing structure, you'll notice two things that we're going to add. The first is that the model has a pony wall, and the second is that it has a foundation. So let's go ahead and make these changes. So the first thing I need to do is select all of our exterior walls and then specify that they have a pony wall. So to select all of our exterior walls, I'm going to select our wall tool, and then holding Shift on my keyboard, I'm going to marquee and select all the walls in our plan. And in the bottom left hand corner, you can see where it says I have 37 objects selected, and that's including both the interior and exterior walls. Holding Control on my keyboard again, I'm going to select our interior walls, which will actually be deselecting them. Next, in the bottom left hand corner, you can see that I have 18 objects selected, and I'm going to open them up. And then to make these walls a pony wall, I'm going to go down to Wall Types, select Pony Wall, and then select a wall type we want to use. And you can see that I have a pony wall type called Stone Silver Lining Edition, where we really want to be using the Remodel because it'll have that opening for our framing layer, and it'll have a different fill so that we can easily differentiate our new walls versus our existing walls in our floor plan view, and when we create a wall schedule using the new wall schedule feature in Chief Architect X11. So I'm going to select that stone lining existing wall type, and there you can see we have that gray fill. And then you can see in this setting below, I have only our upper wall type set to be displayed in our plan view. And so let's go ahead and press OK. And so there you can see all those walls updated in our 3D view. So next, let's go ahead and add that foundation. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the Build Floor options, and you can also get there by going to Build, Floor, Build Foundation. And I'm just going to go ahead and specify that I want it to be 37.5 inches, and that includes our sill plate, so a 36-inch stem wall foundation. And you can see that I'm using a concrete stem wall existing wall type, which will have a gray fill. I'm going to click on OK. And I'm going to derive a new foundation based off of the first floor plan and click OK. And now you can see those foundation walls in our plan, and you'll notice that my floor level has been brought down to floor 0. So now that visually our plan is modeled correctly, there's still a few adjustments I want to make to it in order to account for our materials list. In Chief Architect, you can create a materials list of everything being used in your model. And because this is a remodeling project and this is our as-built conditions, we do not want anything we have displayed right here to be included in our materials list. We can control what is or is not included in our materials list through the use of layers. To access your layers, you can press this Layer Display button in your toolbar, or go to Tools, Layer Settings, Display Options. If we go down to our walls layers, you can see that there's a layer for walls normal that is being used and is being included in our materials list. You'll also notice that I have a layer called walls existing, which currently is not being used and will not be in our materials list. You can create new layers just by pressing this button and then giving the new layer a name, and then checking or unchecking the columns whether you want it to be used in your materials list, and change how it appears in your floor plan. You'll notice with our windows I've taken a similar approach in that I have a layer for windows and then windows existing, which is not in our materials list, and then I've done the same thing for our doors. So next we need to change the layers that our objects are on so that our walls are on the walls existing layer, the doors are on the doors existing layer, and the windows are on the windows existing layer, and there's going to be a few other options we check along the way. So let's go ahead and cancel out of this, and then next I'm going to select all of our walls by selecting the wall tool, holding shift, marqueing over all my walls, and then I'm going to go down and open them up, and then I'm going to go down to layer, and then switch my layer from our walls normal layer to our walls existing layer, and click on OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the foundation level. Select our wall tool, select all of those walls, and just go ahead and change that over. And then we're going to do the same thing with our doors and windows. So I'm going to select our door tool, select all of our doors, open them up, and then here I'm going to go to the layer option, change them from doors to doors existing. And then while I have our door specification open, let's go through it a little bit. So on the right hand side we have a 3D preview just like we did with our walls, and then you have different panels that you can adjust. So here you can change the styles and types, and because we have a couple different types of doors selected, you'll see that they say no change. And similarly, since we have doors selected right now, different widths and sizes, they say no change. But this is where you can adjust those options. At the bottom right here there's an option for include in schedule, and we do not want our existing doors to be included in our schedule, so we're going to uncheck it. And then if you wanted to change other options for this door, the casing style and sizes, the lintel, lights, jamb, and so forth, you can do all that right here. And then the last thing I'm going to uncheck on our doors is going to be our label, because I do not want to see any door labels in our plan for our existing doors. So I'm going to suppress the label and click on OK. And then do the same thing with our windows. Select our window tool, hold shift, select all the windows in our plan, open them up. You can see the window type and the size and position. This dialog is pretty similar to that door dialog, so that's one nice thing about Chief Architect, is you can often learn a tool or a dialog or a technique once, and that similar approach applies throughout other areas of the software. So we're going to uncheck include in schedule here, and you can see we have options again, casings, lintel, and so forth. But we're going to go down to our layer, change it to be windows existing, and then on our label, suppress the label and click on OK. And that's going to be all the changes we're going to make for modeling our as-built conditions. So since we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and save this file by going to File, Save As, and then just give our as-built plan a name. And so there we've documented our as-built. And then what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do another save as and call this file our remodel, so that we have two files. One models our existing as-built conditions, and then one documents any sort of remodeling changes and additions we do to the plan. So I'm going to go up to File, Save As, and then just give this plan another name. And later on we're going to be showcasing a new feature in version X11 so that you can overlay in 3D your as-built conditions and your remodeling conditions, which is a nice tool to help clients visualize how the end changes will impact their current structure. So next we're going to be making a his and her closet off the master bedroom and expanding the master bath space. But before we do that, I want to change some of our default settings, because if you recall, if we select our exterior wall and start drawing, It's going to be our exterior existing wall type, which will have a gray fill and which will have an opening in the cavity where the 2x6 stud should go. So let's go ahead and adjust our default settings so that when we draw our exterior walls, we see a different fill color and we're drawing with a framing layer. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that wall and then just go up to our default settings by selecting the wrench icon, going down to walls, selecting exterior wall, and then going to wall types, and then changing our wall type from the existing wall type to the addition. And if you click on define, you can see how the main layer has a first stud that's 24 inches on center, and it has a blue wall fill, and you can see how that looks in the preview on the right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. And then while we're here, since we know that we need it to be a pony wall, let's go ahead and check this option. And there we have our stone silver lining addition wall type for the lower section of our pony wall. And we're going to go ahead and display in plan view our upper wall section just like we've done with the existing wall type. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And then take a similar approach to our interior wall. Go to our wall types. And from our drop down, select Interior 4 Addition, which you can see as a purple fill. Click OK. And then the same thing with the foundation, because we're going to have to draw a foundation to support our added space. Wall types, and then change from existing to addition. And you can see how that has a blue wall fill. Click on OK and done. And then let's navigate our 3D view over to this section of the plan. So here you can see kind of a map showing our floor plan and the corresponding 3D view, the current master bath, and the current closet. And you'll notice that we're using some different flooring materials, and the reason we have these different flooring materials is because in the Room Planner app I labeled my rooms, and in my default settings for the program we have different room types and with those different room types I have associated different flooring types. However, you can change your flooring types at any time, and we'll do that here in a second. So next, let's go ahead and add that master bath. We're going to go ahead and expand our space and then make some changes to our closet situation. So in our floor plan view, I'm going to go ahead and grab our exterior wall tool, and I'm just going to click and drag about where I want these walls to be. I'm not trying to be too precise right now. And you can see how those get added in our 3D view. And then I'm just going to move them into the position that I want them. And you can see those temporary dimensions come up. And if you want to dimension your walls with these temporary dimensions, you could. We also have a feature in Chief Architect called Auto Exterior Dimensions. And we're going to click yes that we do want to see this layer. And this is another way that you can dimension your walls. So if I wanted this space to be changed from about 8'11" to a different value, I could select this wall and then select our dimension. And then you can also just use these handles to move your walls around. I know that I want this wall to be even with this wall going off the front of the house. So with the wall selected, I'm going to press our center object tool. And you can see I get that gray dash line, let me know when I'm center. I'm just going to click once, and there we've bumped it out to the end of the house, and then we just need to make a minor adjustment to that wall. So next, in our 3D view, you'll notice that we have this wall still set as our exterior wall. So we need to change these wall types to reflect the conditions of exposing to the wall stud and replacing the siding with drywall. So what I'm going to do is in our floor plan view, I'm going to put a break at our walls right here and then select this wall section and this wall section and change them. So in my floor plan view, I'm going to select the break wall tool up in our toolbar, put the break in the appropriate location, and you can see that little gray line showing where that's at. And then holding control on my keyboard, I'm going to select both of the walls that we're going to change, open them up, and then go to wall types, and then click from the drop down. And then just change it over to this Interior 6 Edition wall type. And then we're going to get rid of our pony wall. And you can see how that has a nice big purple fill that we'll be able to differentiate in our floor plan. And then just click on OK. And there we've changed those wall types in our floor plan and in our 3D view. And then next, let's go ahead and account for our change in our closet situation. We need to add a wall that is currently our master bathroom and then make some changes to our doors. So let's adjust our 3D view a little bit. And then I'm going to come into our floor plan view and just select our straight interior wall tool, and then just click and drag a wall about where I want it. And then if I want to dimension this wall, what I can do is go up to our manual dimension tools, and there's a variety of tools, and depending on what type of situation you're working in, there might be a tool that works best. But for moving around walls, I'm going to select our interior dimension and then just click and drag this dimension through our walls. And there we're dimensioning from our framing layer of each wall to the framing layer of the corresponding wall. So next, to adjust this wall's position, I'm just going to select it and then select the dimension that we just added and then type in our new dimension of 3'11" and press enter. And there we've adjusted that wall's position. So next you'll notice that I have room labels still for a master bath when this should really be a hall, and this is really going to be a master closet. So let's make those adjustments by clicking in the room. And here we have this room specification dialog open. Here you can specify information about this room, the room type, specify a custom room name, and the room type will give it a room label. And you can also adjust structural information for this room. If you're an existing Chief Architect user, you'll notice that this box off to the right hand side has been updated to be more interactive. So whenever we hover over our fields, like our absolute elevations or our rough ceiling height, you'll see it correspond with the box on the right hand side. You can also adjust information about your ceiling, your structure, and so forth in these boxes. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead and change our room type to be a closet. Click on OK. And then same thing with this room in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and change it to be a hall. Click on OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and change this space down here to be a master bath. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. Room type, master bath. Click OK. And then I'm going to need to make some adjustments to our flooring material in what will be the hallway and the master closet. So in my 3D view, I can select the material off the carpet and apply it to these two rooms by selecting the material eyedropper tool, selecting the carpet material, and then just clicking in the corresponding rooms to place the carpet material. So next we need to add a door going to the bathroom and then 2 doors for the closet, and then we're going to change this to a doorway. So first let's find a door and add it going to the bathroom. So I'm going to go up to our door tools and select hinge door. And if you're an existing Chief Architect user, you'll notice a few new door types for a fixed door, which will be like a side light, a sliding barn door, and a glass shower door. I'm going to go ahead and select the hinge door and then just come into where I want to place it in the plan, and you can see how that updates in our 3D view. So next in our floor plan view, I'm going to go ahead and select that door, and you can use this little rotate handle to change the swing side, and you can also opt to show it open in 3D using the button in the bottom toolbar. Let's go ahead and make sure we have this door centered on our hallway. With this door selected, I'm just going to select the center object tool, make sure we have it centered, and there we go. And then next let's add some bifold doors going into the closet spaces. So I'm going to go up to our door tools, select bifold, and then just come in, and when I get that little red triangle, you can see that I'm actually centered on the wall. And then I'm just going to double click to open it up, and then I'm going to change its width to be 42 inches. And if I press tab on my keyboard, that'll update the dialog box, and you can see how that looks in our preview. And there we've added it to the plan, and then I'm just going to make a copy of it and then come and place it over on this side, and then I'm going to change the swing side to be going the same direction. So next we need to change this current door to be a doorway. So what I'm actually going to do is, because this is an existing door and I want it to have the properties of a doorway, is I'm just going to delete it, and then I'm going to go back up to our door tools and then select doorway, and then come over and click once, and then just make sure I have it centered on that room. There we go. And since we made a change there to an existing wall type, we might want to annotate that. And there's a few ways you could do that. In Chief Architect, you have text tools, so you can just add a text note and use a line to show that it's going there. But in version X11, we have a new note feature, which will create a note schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and select note, and then just come over, and by this door, I'm just going to click once, and then I'm just going to type in my note. And then just go ahead and click on OK. And then you can see that we currently don't have any sort of number or anything associated with it. And you'll notice there that it appears in our 3D view. But if we go up to our CAD options, there's an option down here for CAD detail management. And this CAD detail management area is generally where you'll store CAD details that you might send on your layout sheet. But this is also where you typically store your schedules in Chief Architect. So if I select the schedules detail and click on open, you can see I have a wall schedule already started. And then to place a note schedule, I'm going to go to tools, schedules, and you'll notice that there's a lot of different types of schedules we can build, but we're just going to go ahead and build a note schedule, and then just click once, and there you can see how that note was added, and you can also see how the callout label is updated within our 3D view. So next, let's go ahead and close this schedules detail. We can always reopen it again if we need to. But next, let's draw in our foundation to provide some support for the bathroom that we just added. So in our floor plan view, I'm going to go down from the first floor to the foundation level, just using those arrows in the top toolbar. And then next, I want to see a reference to show where those walls on the first floor are located. So in your toolbar, there's an option for show reference display, and you can also press F9 on your keyboard to open that up. And there you can see those walls displayed. So next, with our foundation wall tool selected, I'm just going to come in and click and drag where I want to add these walls. And then to make sure that they're aligned with the wall above, I can select the wall. And in the bottom toolbar, there's an option for align with wall above. And you have to get really close to your wall first in order to see it. And there I've added those walls. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off our reference floor display. And if you zoom in, you can see how the addition foundation walls have that blue fill, whereas the existing have the gray fill. So next, let's go ahead and add a second story. I'm going to go up to the first floor in my floor plan view, and in our 3D view, I'm just going to make sure that we're here for now. But to add a second story, you can go up to that floor option in your toolbar and then select build a new floor. And remember, you can get there through the drop-down menus. And then I'm going to specify that I want to derive the second floor plan based off of the first floor plan, and click on OK. And then next, you can specify different ceiling height values or moldings and things like that if you wanted to. But I'm just going to press on OK for this. And there we have our second floor added in our floor plan view. And then since we're using a floor overview in our 3D view, we need to go up to the second floor in this view. And there we can see our second floor in our 3D view and in our floor plan view. One thing you'll notice in our floor plan view is that we're displaying both the gray and the blue wall type, when really we just want to be displaying the blue wall type. And the reason that we're displaying the gray wall type is because when you build a new floor, it's just building it off of the floor type on the floor below it. However, we can easily change this by selecting our wall tool, holding Shift on the keyboard and selecting all of our walls, opening them up, going to wall types, and then specifying that the wall type is going to be the addition wall type, and click on OK. And there we can see that update in our floor plan view. So next, there's a few adjustments I want to make to these walls, and if you take a look at a photo of the final design, let's adjust the size of it real quick here. You can see that on the right hand side of the plan, we actually don't have our second floor over in this area, and over in this area we'll end up having a bonus room, and so we're going to make the walls in this area slightly smaller. So the first adjustment I'm going to make is just by selecting this wall and moving it in. And then in this area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this wall across to separate this area as a room. And then we can specify a setting when we build our roof that if there is a roof over this room, we use our shake wall type. However, if the wall is contained within a room, we'll use an interior wall type. And we'll look at that setting in a little bit when we build the roof. So I'm going to select this wall and then just drag it across. And then I'm going to put a break at this wall and move these walls in a little bit. So there I've broken this wall so that we have two separate wall types. And then I'm going to select my handle and just start dragging. And I know that I want it to be 36 inches inwards. And if I press tab while I'm dragging, you can bring up the enter coordinates dialog. And we can specify that we're going to be changing the X position by 36 inches. And we'll move it inwards 36 inches. And there we made that adjustment on one side. And then we're just going to make the same adjustment on the other side. Start moving and press tab. And then we're going to specify a negative 36 inches in the X coordinate and click on OK. And then we're also going to bump this front wall back. And then that's going to be all the changes we make to the walls on the second floor. And at this point you could continue just using our wall tools to draw out bedrooms and other rooms and so forth. But I think by this point you understand the concept of how our wall tools in Chief Architect work. So next we need to add stairs connecting the first floor to the second floor. And if you take a look at the photo of the stair section, we're going to end up having a staircase over in this area. And we're going to set the area above the stairs to be open below to create a nice big entryway. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to reposition our 3D view just slightly so that we're looking over this area. And then in our floor plan view, we're going to be focused in on here. And I'm going to go down to our first floor and look at the conditions that we have going on. We have our front door, a window, and then an existing closet. And this closet is actually going to be converted to support the stair structure. There's a couple ways that you could model these walls to indicate that they're going to be supporting the stairs. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use our note tool, place another note, and then just type in my text to indicate that the existing closet will provide a closet space underneath the stairs and provides support for the stairs. And then just go ahead and click on OK. And you can see that note that we added. And then I'm just going to go ahead and delete this room. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and draw our stairs. So I'm going to go up to our stair tools. And there's a couple of different options, straight stairs, you can draw stairs, and this straight stairs tool is mainly meant for going short distances outside from like a deck to a terrain. Curved stairs, an L-shaped stair, U-shaped stair, ramps and landings. I'm going to go ahead and use our draw stairs tool and then just click and drag about where we want our stairs, not trying to be too precise at this moment. So we know we're going to have one section there, and if we look at the photo, we have another small section and then a landing. So let's go ahead and add this. And then I'm just going to select the stair sections and make sure we have them bumped up against their corresponding walls. And just drag them a little bit towards each other. And then with our stair tool selected, if I click in between the stairs, they'll connect with the landing. And in our 3D view, let's go down a floor. You can see how that's starting to come in our 3D view. So next I want to make some modifications to these stairs so that they do not have a rail against the wall. So what I'm going to do is select both the upper stair section and the lower stair section, open it up. And if you wanted to change information about the staircase in regards to the treads or the depth or the length or the width or any of the information about your heights and risers, you can do so here. You can change information about the styles of your stringers and your runners and your winders and so forth. You can add a brake line, change the style of the railing that you're going to be using, and we're going to uncheck railing at wall right to remove that railing. If you're using newels and balusters, you can model those here, model your rail, change the information on how it appears in your floor plan view, and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And you'll see there how we remove those rails against the wall. And next we're going to be drawing in some walls to model a closet underneath the stairs. And because we have stairs and walls for the closet occupying the same space, I'm going to set a transparency on the stairs so that we can see through them and see where these closet walls are going to be located. So selecting our stair section, I'm going to hold Control, open up these three sections, go to Fill Style, and then just set a transparency to whatever you desire. And then click on OK. And then I'm going to come into our straight interior wall tool, and then just click and drag where you want these interior walls to be located. And you can see how that looks in our 3D view, and we're going to make some modifications to clean that up. So I'm going to select our wall and then just drag it inwards a little bit. And then I'm going to come down here, select this wall and drag it outwards. And then it looks like we have a little bit of cleanup to do over there. And then go ahead and finish off our stairs by extending it outwards. And then the last thing I need to do, actually I need to extend this wall all the way to the end. And then the last thing I want to do is go ahead and add a door here. So you just go to your door tools and then just click to place a door. And there we've got that closet underneath our stairs added. So that's going to be completing the stairs, but next if we go up to our second floor, you can see that those stairs are just merging through to the second floor. In Chief Architect, you have an extremely convenient tool which will automatically cut a hole in the floor platform to provide space for your stairwell. So what you do is you select this stair section, and in the bottom toolbar you have an option for Auto Stairwell. And just like that, you have a stairwell above those stairs. And if we go up to our second floor in our floor plan view, we can select this wall and drag it back. And then we're going to make an adjustment so that we bump it over so that we have that nice open entryway. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit. And then you'll see in our 3D view how it filled, but once we reconnect the room, it'll open up that space again. So just bring it down, and then I'm going to align it with our exterior wall. And there we have our nice big open entryway. So that's going to be all the work that we do on our stairs, and next we're going to be adding a roof. And so instead of using a floor overview, which essentially removes the ceiling of the floor that you're on so that you can peek into your rooms, we're going to want to use a different 3D rendering technique called our full overview, which will show our entire model including our roof planes. So before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and close our current 3D view and then just back out in our floor plan view. And then next let's take a look at a photo of what that roof's going to look like. So our roof system is going to be composed of a few different roof planes. On the first floor we have a few areas of the plan that do not have a second floor above them, so we will need to build a roof over these spaces, and then we'll build the roof over the second floor. Our roof system will also have various pitches, and over this area of our plan we're going to have a bonus room which will have angled walls supplied by the roof, so we will need to go through how to account for a condition such as this. So I'm going to go ahead and move this photo off to the side, and then I'm going to go back down to the first floor. And before we get started on our roof, you'll notice that in the photo that we have some windows on the second floor. Let's go ahead and add a few of these just for reference. So I'm going to add the windows that you see currently in the office space and by our stairs up onto the second floor. So what I'm going to do is select the windows, holding Control, and then pressing Control C on my keyboard, I'm going to copy them and then go up to the second floor. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Paste, Hold Position, and what that will do is it'll place those windows in the exact same place in the plan, but just on the second floor. So Paste, Hold Position, and I also could have pressed Control Alt V there. And there you can see we've added those windows to the plan. So next let's take a 3D view, and I'm going to take that perspective full overview of the entire model. And you can see how those windows are coming in, and you'll notice that they're not exactly how they were in the photo. So if you wanted to modify them, change the size, copy them, move them around and so forth, you could go ahead and do that. But I think for the purpose of the demonstration, you understand how to copy and resize windows. And so next let's work in both our 2D and 3D views, since we're going to be making some changes to the roof. And let's go ahead and start on the first floor. And now next you'll notice that we have a lot of information displaying about our dimensions, our walls, and so forth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch our plan view from our working plan view, which is where you'll do your general work, over to our roof plan view. Plan views work in collaboration with your layer sets, annotation sets, and other default settings to make for a very quick, efficient, and fast workflow. We're not going to go through all the details in this webinar as to how plan views work, but we have a large amount of resources on our website that go through all the different settings and things you can set up to make your workflow customized for your design approach. And the information that you include in your plan views is what you'll end up sending to your layout sheets. So next, let's go ahead and build our roof. So I'm going to go to Build, Roof, Build Roof, and you'll notice that there's a lot of different options here. If you wanted to manually draw roof planes or ceiling planes, you could, or add dormers and skylights and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and go to the Build Roof option. And then here on this dialog, there's a lot of different information you can change. I'm going to specify that we want to auto rebuild roof. So anytime we make a change to a plan, whether it is moving a wall or adjusting our plan, our roofs will automatically rebuild. And then I'm also going to specify that we want the pitch to be 10 and 12. And we'll make some more adjustments to our roof plane pitches on an individual roof plane basis later on. And then if you want to change other information, your roof overhangs and heights and bird's mouth cuts, different options for how it should build, how this roof should frame, rafter tails, ridge caps, and so forth. You can design your roof style here. And then this last option is roof styles, and there's a lot of automatic roof styles the program can produce. And if you need help with any of these automatic roof styles, you can just click on this box and help documentation will automatically populate that will show you how to create these specific roof styles. You can also use the help documentation button in the bottom right hand corner to pull up the program's help menu. And then there's also a very large amount of training resources on our website on how to design roofs. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I'm on the roof panel. I've got auto rebuild roofs checked, the pitch set how I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And you can see in our floor plan view how we now have dashed lines indicating where our roof is, and you can see how that updates in our 3D view. So the program automatically puts a hip roof over our structure, and we need to change a lot of these hips to gable ends. So I'm going to do this over in our floor plan view. I'm going to hold Control and then select the walls that I want to change to gable walls. And then I'm just going to go ahead and open up those walls. And then you'll notice that there's a panel here for roof. And what this does is it tells the program that we're going to change our roof over these specific walls. So here you can specify a lot of automatic styles, and I'm going to go ahead and press full gable and then just click on OK. And you can see how the program automatically updated those walls. And then the next thing I want to do, if you look at the photo, is the gables over in this area in our plan are coming up at a steeper pitch. So we need to change the pitch just over these walls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in close in our floor plan view. And let's actually turn off our temporary dimensions just so we can more easily see our floor plan. And then the walls that we're going to want to change are the walls that our roof is building up off of. So over in our floor plan view, I'm going to hold Control and select the walls that I want to change. Open them up, go to Roof, and then change our pitch to the new desired pitch, and click on OK. And you can see how it makes that adjustment. And then the one last one I want to change might be this one in the back, so I'm just going to open it up and change that one to a 14 and 12 pitch. Click OK. And there we have our roof updated on the first floor. So next, let's move to the second floor and make some adjustments. So I'm going to go up to floor 2 and then select the ends that I want to change to a gable. And then you could open up these walls and change them to a gable, but over in our toolbar we have a shortcut button to change it to a gable. And with auto rebuild roofs turned on, it will change those. And then just like with the first floor, I need to change how steep some of those walls are on the second floor. So I'm just going to select the walls that I need to change. Open them up. go to roof, and then enter my new desired pitch and click on OK. And you can see now how those walls have a very steep pitch. So next we need to work on our bonus room. And if you look at the photo, you can see that the roof planes on the first floor need to connect with the roof planes on the second floor. So what we're going to do to create the bonus room and connect our roof planes is that we are going to drop the ceiling height of this room so that these roof planes will connect. And then we're going to turn off auto rebuild roof, and then we're going to readjust our ceiling height to make that larger ceiling. So let's go ahead and drag our photo off to the side, and let's actually get into a cross-section view to take a look at what our room is looking like. So I'm going to go up to our camera tools, and I'm going to select this option for back clipped cross-section, and then just click and drag it through the room. So you can see where those roof planes are building and how this room is currently a square room. But let's actually work in all three views, our 2D view, our 3D view, and our cross-section view. And then just focus in on this room. In our 3D view, if we zoom in, you'll recall earlier that we drug this wall across and it still has that siding material. And there was a setting we talked about that if it's an interior room, it should build a different wall type. So let's take a look at that setting for the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the wall, open it up, and then go to the roof panel. And then down at the bottom there's a setting for lower wall type if split by budding roof. So I'm just going to select our interior 6 wall type and then just click OK. And then next let's continue building our roof. So next what we're going to do is drop the ceiling so that these roof planes will connect. So I'm going to double click on the room, go to our structure, and then change the finished ceiling to be a very low value. And when we press the wrench icon later, it'll restore our defaults. So you can see how that dropped the ceiling in our cross section. It looks a little bit odd in our 3D view right now, but we'll go ahead and make an adjustment later and it'll look all right. I'm going to press Control R, turn off our auto rebuild roof function so that we maintain the roof that we've now designed. And then I'm going to go ahead and double click on the room, click on structure, and then click on the wrench icon to restore the finished ceiling default height, and click OK. And you can see in our cross section how we have a short wall and then our angled walls to make up this bonus room. And in our 3D view, everything's looking correct. So that's going to complete all of the work that we're going to do on the roof. So next let's go ahead and close this cross section view and this 3D view. And then next let's take an elevation and use our story pull dimension tool to point out where our roof planes are located in regards to our height information. So I'm going to go to our camera tools, select cross section elevation, and then just click and drag a cross section pointing at the front of the house. And so here we have a cross section view, and to get our story pull dimensions you go up to your dimension tool and then click on auto story pull dimensions. And Chief will automatically place story pull dimensions in your plan, and you can edit these dimensions. So if you wanted to add more dimension points or remove points or anything, you could go ahead and do that. But let's go ahead and save this elevation view for now. And let's turn on shadows for this elevation view just to draw out some nice details. So I'm going to save this elevation view, and we'll open it again later when we're using our layout sheets. And then next let's go ahead and work on our framing. If you take a look at the photo of our framing, you'll notice that on the first floor we do not have floor joists in the area that's existing, but we do have floor joists and wall framing in the new area that we added, and then we have our framing for our second floor. So let's go ahead and model this. So in my floor plan view, I'm going to go down to the first floor, and I'm going to go ahead and change my plan view to be our framing floor plan view. I'm going to click yes, I want to save the settings that I changed on the roof plan view. And then next to build the framing, I'm going to go to build, framing, and here there's a lot of different options that you can build. If you wanted to manually add rafters or posts or roof trusses or joists or anything like that, you can add them here. But I'm going to use the automatic build framing function. And then here you can see that I'm on the foundation panel, which will specify how the subfloor between the foundation and the first floor should act. I'm going to specify that I want to build the floor framing, and then if you want to change any information about the spacing or joists or anything like that, you can do so here. And then I'm going to take a similar approach on the first floor. For the ceiling above the first floor, we're going to build the ceiling framing. And then for the area that will have a subfloor for the second floor, I want to build a floor framing for that. On the second floor, we're going to build ceiling framing. And then since we don't have a third floor, we don't have the option to build floor framing on the third floor. And then I'm just going to go over to the wall option and specify build wall framing. And remember that in the very beginning we specified our existing walls to have an opening, but our addition walls to have framing. So we're only going to build framing in certain walls. And then if you wanted to specify information for your openings, fireplaces, how your default beam and post settings should behave, you could. And under roof, we're just going to stick frame this roof. So we're going to click on build roof framing. And then if you want to change how your trusses behave or how it displays in your plan views, you can. But we're going to go ahead and click on OK. And then we're going to get a lot of questions asking if we want to see certain layers displayed. And I only want to see our wall posts and our floor joists. I'm going to say no to ceiling joists and a lot of these other options that come up. So here we are on the first floor, and you can see where the floor framing is coming in on the second floor between the first floor and the second floor. And then we have our wall studs in the walls that we built, but the existing walls do not have wall studs. If we go to our 3D cameras, you'll notice that there's one for a perspective framing overview, which will isolate our 3D view just to our framing. So you notice that we currently have floor joists over in this area of the plan. So let's go ahead and remove these unnecessary joists. And I'm going to work in 2D and 3D. And then to see these floor joists in our floor plan view, I need to go down to our foundation level. And there you can see them. And then to delete them, I'm going to go up to our framing tools, select our joists, zoom in a little bit first, and then just marquee select the joist that we want to delete, and then just click on delete. And you can see how that impacted our floor plan. And then we need to do a little bit of touch up over in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and select that joist on the end and delete it. And then same thing with over here. We can go ahead and delete these framing options. And it might be easier to work in a combination of our 2D and 3D view. So I'm just going to select some of these framing members and delete them, and then just drag it back as necessary. So next we need to delete the floor joists that are coming in on the back side that we don't need. So in our floor plan view, we can trim the joists at a specific point by placing a CAD line and then trimming them on the one side of the CAD line. So I'm going to go up to our CAD tools, just click and drag a CAD line, and then move it to where I would like to trim it to. In this case, I'm just going to use the edge of this foundation wall. And then in the bottom toolbar with the CAD line selection, there's this option for trim objects. So I'm going to select it and then just click and drag through those joists. And you can see how we deleted those joists. And then we just need to do a little bit of cleanup over in this area. So I'm going to go back to the joist tool, hold shift to marquee select, and then delete them. And then since we don't need this CAD line anymore, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at how the electrical tools in Chief Architect work. I'm going to go ahead and close this 3D framing view. And then in our floor plan view, I'm going to switch our view to be our electrical plan view. Go ahead and save that. And then we're on the first floor, and we know we added a master bath over in this area, but we might need lights and outlets. So let's go ahead and place some lights. So I'm going to go up to our light tool, select light, and then just place a light. And if I knew that I needed more lights in this area, I could go ahead and use our light tool and place additional lights and dimension them. But we have a really convenient tool to quickly evenly space lights across each other. So I'm going to select the first light, and then our bottom toolbar there's this option for multiple copy. And if I select it once and then select the set interval option, you can tell the program I evenly want to distribute a specific number of objects when dragging. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it I want to distribute one object in our first direction. So that'll move one object down, and then make a second copy of this set as we drag across in our horizontal direction. Alternatively, you can specify them to be a continuous distance across when dragging, but I'm just going to select this option. And then when I bring my mouse over, notice how it changes the icon. and then I'm going to right click and hold it and drag, and there I've got one light, and then release, and there I'm dragging out 2 extra copies of our light. You'll also notice under our electrical tools that there's different outlet options that you can place, and in X11 we have a new rope light tool that you can use. And then to connect our lights with our switch, we would just use the switch option, place a switch, go back to our electrical tools, select connect electrical, and then just designate where these lights are going in relation to the switch. And if you want to adjust these arcs, you can select them and then adjust how the radius of that arc is looking. So that's going to complete all the work I want to do with the electrical. So next, let's take a look at our materials list. So to view a materials list, go to Tools, Materials List, Calculate Materials for all floors. So here we have our materials list displayed of everything that we're using in the plan. And remember, at the very beginning we used our layer options to specify certain layers will display on our materials list and certain layers will not. So remember, the existing walls, windows, and doors we put on layers for existing and unincluded those in the materials list, so those items are not appearing here. And then if you wanted to add any other information, you can do that. So for example, we have the amount of concrete that we're using on our foundation, and if you wanted to add in a pet price, you could go ahead and add in your own pricing. And you can also save this line item to your master list, so that anytime you use concrete, it'll automatically be available with that information that you added. You'll notice at the top that we're viewing everything in linear length, but you can choose whether to see it in a cut list, by list, or mixed reporting. So if we change to a cut list, and then let's take a look at our framing, you can see that we have a cut list of the various studs and plates and so forth in our plan. And if we select one of them, and then select this option for Find Object in Plan, we can see that we have 3 studs of this length within our floor plan. And if we select one and then click Find, it'll bring us over into our wall detail where we can see those objects selected. Similarly, if we didn't want to see this wall framing detail but maybe a different one, let's go ahead and close that. And I'm going to go ahead and close our materials list for now. I'm going to not save it. Switch back to the framing floor plan view. Go up to the first floor, and then if I wanted to see the framing for this wall, there's a button in the bottom toolbar for Open Wall Detail. So there we can see a wall detail of just this wall. So this might be a piece of information that we want to include on our layout sheet. So let's go ahead and talk about our layout sheet option next. In Chief Architect, the layout sheets are where you assemble your different views and pieces of information to create your construction documents. I already have a layout file started, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. But you can include information like your company name, projects, addresses, pages, and so forth. So here I have my cover page. So here you might use the text tools to include information about your project. You might include a 3D view here. So let's go ahead and include a 3D view. I'm going to go to our floor plan view, go up to our 3D cameras, and then select a perspective full overview. And there's a lot of different 3D rendering techniques in the software. We are currently in our standard view, but you can switch to a vector view if you prefer, a glass house view, a dual tone, a technical illustration. A lot of people like to use a watercolor view, and you can overlay some of these rendering techniques and adjust their settings. So let's go ahead and include a line drawing on top of it, and then just click OK. And you can see how it brings out a lot of detail in your 3D view. You can also use the ray tracing function in the software to bring out a very high amount of detail in your plans. So if we take a look at a photo, here's an example of a ray trace. You can see the reflections off the windows and just a very high amount of detail in general. Here's an example showing a bathroom and then another interior ray trace. Let's go ahead and close this and then send this view to our layout sheet by pressing the Send to Layout button. And then next, there's a lot of different options for how you can send it to the layout view. I'm going to specify that I want it to update on demand and click on OK. And there we have that view in our layout sheet, and then you can push it into the corner and resize it and do a lot of different things with it. But since we have this camera how we want it, I'm going to go ahead and save it and then close it. And then next I'm going to switch from our cover page over to our floor plan page, And so I'm going to go back to our floor plan, and let's go ahead and send over a floor plan view dimensioned. And then I know for this that I do want to see the wall fills so that we can see the differentiating walls in our plan. So I'm going to go to our layer options and then go down to walls, and then make sure I have the walls layer turned on and click on OK. And now we can see the color in the walls. And then you can change the scale here if you wanted to. And then I'm just going to adjust it into the corner. And then next, let's send over that schedule. And actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and trim up this view so that we know how much real estate we have to bump it into the corner. So next, let's send over our wall schedule note schedule that we made. So to do that, you go back to the floor plan view, go to CAD Detail Management, find the schedules detail, and click on Open. Make sure you get your view how you want it. Let's go ahead and bump this a little bit closer. And then send it on over to your layout sheet. Once again, you can specify the scale if you wanted to. And then just move it on into position. And you can see how we're running out of screen space there, so we'll go ahead and just move it down here so that we have more screen space. And then if we wanted to include any other information, we could do so here. But let's go to the next page of our layouts and send over an elevation. So I'm going to go back to our floor plan view, open that elevation camera, and then I'm just going to go ahead and send it on over. And then if you wanted to send it as plot lines, you could. And you can see there, since I did not have a color fill, it's not displaying in color. And then if you want to include any other information on this layout sheet, you could. Let's go to the next page, which is our framing. So I'm going to go back to our floor plan view and switch to I'm going to just go ahead and use our framing floor plan view, and then send this on over. Once again, keep that scale at 1/4 inch, and then adjust it slightly. And then let's send over that wall detail. And then you can specify the scale here if you wanted to. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger for the purpose of the demonstration. And then you can just move it into position where you wanted to. And then you can turn on the labels for your walls so that you can see what walls correspond with what details, and that's just a layer over in your floor plan view. Or you could use the text and call out tools to specify which walls are with what details. And once again, there's a lot of information that you can include in your layout sheets, and more detailed information on how to go through creating layout sheets is available on our website. So next, I'm going to go ahead and overlay a 3D reference of our plans like we talked about earlier. Let's go ahead and save this layout sheet and close it. And then just close out of these other pieces of information. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our working plan view, but you can overlay your plans in your floor plan view or in your 3D view. So let's go ahead and show how we can overlay them in our floor plan view real quick. So to overlay an existing Chief Architect file, you go up to this option in the toolbar where you have your floor reference and just click on it. And then you can specify that you want to show a reference floor, and that can be within the same plan, or in Chief Architect X11 you can choose an external plan. So there I'm going to select my as-built plan, click on Open, and then those red dashed lines indicate where the walls are in our other plan. And since we didn't demo any walls in this plan, we don't see where those walls would have been. But if we go to this area, for example, and delete that door going to the closet, you can see that we have that existing door indicator. So you could then send this piece of information to your layout view if you wanted. You can also overlay your 3D views, and what I like to do is I like to use the as-built plan and then overlay the remodel we did so that we can see a reference of the remodel in 3D. So here's our floor plan of that as-built file. Let's go ahead and open up a perspective full overview. So there we have our as-built plan. And then next let's reference the remodel that we did. So we're going to go ahead and press the change floor reference button. Specify that we're going to choose an existing plan, in this case the remodel. And there you can see the layer set and the rendering technique we're going to be using, in this case the glass house, and click on OK. And there you can see everywhere that we're going to be adding onto the model. So that's a really nice way you can use Chief Architect to help show your customers what the existing plan is going to look like, and then what a remodel or an addition is going to look like. And that's going to conclude this demonstration.